I just finished having a very interesting conversation with one of my students, and we were talking about everything from relationships to discipline to learning to success. And he asked me a very interesting question. He asked me, do you think that success is something that one attains alone or collectively? And I had to stop and think about it for a second because initially my reaction was it's alone. They often say that it's lonely at the top, meaning when you're at the top of your game, at the top of your industry, when you're the best of the best, when you're the most successful, it can be quite lonely because there are so few people like you. There are so few people who are willing to make the daily sacrifice over the course of years or even decades to become the best at whatever it is they do. And so it can be quite lonely when you can't relate to people who don't have the same level of discipline or the same growth mentality, the same desire to eliminate distractions and focus 100% on what they want to get out of life or who they want to become as people. You can feel lonely. And a lot of times you actually are alone. When you think about Cristiano Ronaldo or Kobe Bryant or some of the best athletes to ever play their sports, they were usually alone, getting up early at the crack of dawn, going to the gym before practice started to do 1,000 shots, then practicing with the team, and then staying late after practice to do 1,000 more shots or whatever. And that's a very lonely process every single day, just going 10 times harder than any of your competition, training longer and studying more and eating the right foods and going to the gym and taking care of your mental health. All these things that go into being successful that enable you to go and perform at the highest level. It can be a lonely process because, as I said, there are so few people that are willing to make that daily sacrifice. However, as I sat there and thought about it, I also realized that even those people have support systems. Whether it's Cristiano Ronaldo or Kobe Bryant or Lionel Messi or Steph Curry or Kyrie Irving or whoever you admire in the athletic space or whoever you think of as super successful, whether it's a musician or an actor or an athlete or an entrepreneur, everyone has support systems. The most successful people have support systems, whether it's their wife or husband or their children rooting them on, family members, employees, management staff, legal assistants. If they're athletes, they have nutritionists and trainers and things like that. There's so many people working on helping them work on their weaknesses that they're not even aware of, finding holes in their game that they weren't even aware of that need to be filled. And so what I'm saying is everybody needs support on some level. You may think I can do everything by myself. It's just me. I'm strong enough. It is lonely at the top and I'm going to show everybody I don't need them and I can do it and blah, blah, blah. And it's cool. I think it's cool to have that level of ego on some level. It's cool to be that confident in yourself and know that no matter what happens, you can achieve your goals. You can rely on yourself. But that's not to say that you don't need anybody ever, because we all do. We all do. No matter what's going on in life, we need other people, but especially on the path to success. I think that you need people who, in fact, are smarter than you in certain areas that can compensate for the weaknesses that we all have. Because all of us have weaknesses or flaws or things that we're just not as good at in comparison to other people. And I think some of the best, most successful and smartest people are smart enough to know I'm never going to be an expert in A, B, and C, so I need to hire people or collaborate with people who are experts in that field so that I can focus on X, Y, and Z. And together we rise, together we shine. So it's a collective effort, this thing that we call success. And I'm not on some motivational speaker shit. I am getting to a point. And the point is, it's the same thing with learning to speak a foreign language. The same thing with learning to speak English. I promise you, it's the same concept. A lot of people are trying to go through this process isolated, by themselves, at home, scrolling on their phones, watching YouTube videos, buying online courses, or whatever it is that they do. They're trying to do it by themselves. And they say, I don't live in an English-speaking country, or I don't know how to talk to people, I don't have friends who speak English. There's a million reasons why somebody believes that they can't learn English, or that they can't learn English with other people. But the reality is, even becoming successful in that, which is achieving fluency or proficiency, requires a support system. And it doesn't have to be 1 million people. It doesn't have to be 500 or even 100 or just 10 people. It could be 4 or 5 people. But you need a support system. You need somebody that will be able to tell you whether or not what you're saying sounds natural, whether or not you're using those words in the correct way, how your grammar sounds, your word choice, the way you express yourself, tell you about the culture, if you're breaking cultural norms or cultural rules and stuff like that. You need somebody who can explain these things to you or highlight them. That's a form of support. Somebody that can guide you or at least help you get down the path to what success is, which in this case is fluency in the English language. You need friends to talk to, because it doesn't have to be a professional English teacher that teaches you how to speak this language, or at least speak it more naturally. I learned to speak Portuguese very well without paying for a single class or a single course, and I was only able to do that without going to Brazil, mind you. I learned to speak Portuguese years before I actually went to Brazil, and I was only able to do that because I had a support system. I had about 4 good friends that I could talk to on practically a daily basis. A couple of them I would talk to a couple times a week or maybe a couple times a month, but 1 or 2 of them I would talk to damn near every single day. Every day, about everything, which is what I'm always telling you to do. Learn how to talk about things that are outside your area of interest. Learn how to take interest in other people. Just be curious and talk about life. And this is how you learn to speak a foreign language. That was my support system when learning Portuguese. Just some cool people that I liked and who liked me. We enjoyed making conversation and we talked all the time. Half the time in Portuguese, half the time in English. And together we rose. Together we reached that level of success that we wanted so bad. And we would not have been able to do that if we never spoke to each other, if we just stayed isolated in our homes, watching videos, saying, oh, we're learning these languages. It's not how it works. Very few people have the natural talent for learning languages. I mean, the talent so strong or so high that they don't have to talk to a single person and they can learn to speak a language fluently. I've never met anybody that has done that. I think I've met one person who managed to learn to speak English by himself just by watching videos and listening to songs and stuff. But at some point, he started talking to people. At some point, you have to do that. And so for the rest of us normal people who don't have that natural born talent to learn languages without much effort or support, we need a support system. And not just so that you know whether or not what you're saying sounds natural. That's not the only reason. It's not just so that you can have your grammar corrected or improve your word choice or sound more natural. I'm getting repetitive, but you get my point. It's not just the linguistic perfection that you're seeking when you're looking for a support system. It's also the motivation, because learning a language is supposed to be fun. It doesn't have to be like learning trigonometry or astrophysics or biochemistry or whatever. I mean, if you like those things, more power to you, bro. But most people, we're not into that shit. We're not trying to sit in a fucking classroom and listen to a lecture about atoms and molecules and protons and neutrons and shit. We're not trying to do that, bro. How many people you know are trying to do that, want to sit in a classroom and just be lectured on some shit? Grammar rules and verb tenses. How many people do you know want to sit in a classroom with 20 other people and just listen to a lecture like that? You know what I mean? That is demotivating. We're like, man, fuck this shit. We actually feel stupid because we think something's wrong with us when we can't manage to pay attention or comprehend this information. When the reality is, just need to learn in a different way. When you have a support system, when you learn in a community. And remember, a community could just be 2 or 3 people. It does not have to be 100 people. When you have a community or a support system, which is the same thing, you're motivated to learn, because now you're not just focused on speaking the language. You have a reason to be speaking that language, which is to communicate with people that you actually like and enjoy talking to and share interests with, or that you can learn from. This is why you need a support system when learning a language, is to stay motivated, because when you're using the language with real people and they're correcting you, you're having fun, making jokes, you're learning things, talking about your favorite music or movies or philosophical ideas or your personal history or whatever it may be, You're realizing, damn, I'm actually using this language. I can communicate in this language. This person understands me and I understand them, which gives you that rush, that feeling of accomplishment, or that dopamine or whatever chemicals running through your brain when you feel motivated and a sense of accomplishment. Whatever chemical that is, that's where you get it from. It's from doing the thing and seeing that your effort is paying off. And so a very simple, easy, relatively cheap, if not free way to do that is find your tribe, find your community. 2 to 3 to 10 people that you can talk to on a regular basis that will not only help you achieve linguistic perfection, but keep you motivated and having fun while going through the challenging, the arduous, the grueling, sometimes frustrating process of learning to communicate in a language that is foreign to you. This is the reason I'm telling you guys to learn how to talk to people. Get in the habit of talking to strangers, making conversation, learning how to listen, learning how to keep a conversation going. Learning these skills will help you communicate better in any language, including your native language. So the moral of this, it's not a story, but the fundamental point I'm trying to get across here, the fundamental message I want to transmit is if you want to be successful, especially in the world of learning languages, man, you definitely need a support system. And that could be in the form of lessons on TikTok and Instagram or YouTube or an online course. But if you have the money, definitely private lessons with a good teacher that you feel comfortable with. But you don't have to spend the money if you don't want to, bro. You have the internet. Join a Discord server or download a language exchange app. There's other ways to find and talk to people. And it's just about finding your people, man. The ones that you like and how would I say that? The ones that you like and enjoy speaking with, making conversation with. And do that shit as much as possible and talk about as many things as possible. And then you'll realize learning a language is not that hard. The hardest part is finding people to use the language with. Finding people that you actually want to talk to and using the language with them, getting tongue-tied, using the language with them as much as possible. Because that is exactly how you learned your first language. You just didn't have a choice in the matter. That's the only difference. But that's how you learned. By talking with your siblings or your parents or friends at school, consuming content made by natives for you. It is the same exact thing. So there's no need to overcomplicate the process. There's no need to do that, man. And by doing it alone, you're going to run into so many more brick walls. You're going to be constantly running into these obstacles that you don't know how to overcome, or these problems you don't know how to solve. But by doing it with other people, even other learners of the English language, they have a completely different experience and at the same time, the same experience. So you might learn things from them that you never would have considered. How to remember these verbs or how to use them in a more natural way. Or, hey, that grammar structure is wrong. This is what I learned from my teacher or my friends. Let me introduce you to some of my friends. Now you got more people to talk to. It's not just natives you learn from. It's anybody who speaks the language better than you. So humble yourself, man. Be open-minded and don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for support. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger. It makes you stronger. By definition, a support system makes you stronger. And having the humility to ask for help when you know you need it is a sign of strength. It's a sign of intelligence. So be smart about this shit, bro. Find your tribe, find your community, your 2 to 3 to 10 people that you like talking to, and talk as much as you can about as many things as you can. And you will see that with a support system, you will reach the level of fluency that you so deeply desire much faster and have a lot more fun doing it.